UFC 265, Lewis versus Gane takes place this weekend, and I'm going to go through the entire card, starting with the early prelims, ending with the main event, giving my prediction and breakdown for every single fight on the card, starting with the early prelim opener of Johnny Munoz versus Jamey Simmons. Starts off the early prelims, both guys coming off losses, 10-1 Johnny Munoz versus 7-3 Jamey Simmons. Different losses, though, in my opinion, though they were to different opponents. Jamey Simmons did lose to Chiesa, but then again, he did last, I believe, a little bit longer than Cub Swanson, or around the same time as Cub Swanson. Got put away in the first round by TKO. I'm not trying to say that Jamey Simmons is better than Cub Swanson, but even still, Chiesa can put people away in the first round. Jamey Simmons did get put out pretty badly. Hurt to the body with a kick, and then hurt upstairs with a head kick as well. Got TKO'd in the first round. Johnny Munoz is also coming off a loss. However, Johnny Munoz's loss is a little bit of a different situation. He fought Nate Maness, who's a great fighter, by the way. Nate Maness is a very, very solid guy. Good record as well. A better record than anyone Jamey Simmons has beaten in his entire career. Neither of these guys really have that one big win, but you could argue that Johnny Munoz does, because Nathan Maness won that fight based on a couple of groin shots that were landed by Johnny Munoz throughout that fight. If you look at the significant strikes, I believe Johnny Munoz outlanded Nate Maness every single round. Now, Nate Maness had some moments where he would tally up some totals against the cage with some total strikes, but Johnny Munoz was winning that fight. He got a point taken away because of the groin shots. That's how he lost the fight. I'm going to go with Johnny Munoz here. I think he's very good. Both guys are pretty hard to predict for, though. I think Johnny Munoz is a little bit more composed, whereas Jamey Simmons is a little bit more wild. I think coming off a bad KO loss to Chiesa, it's going to kind of want to tame you a little bit, and that's not what I want to see from Jamey Simmons. For a guy who usually goes out there and does something crazy in the first round, gets a first round submission or gets a first round TKO, to have your confidence shattered by a first round KO to you, I think is going to make him a little bit more hesitant in the first round here against Johnny Munoz. And if he doesn't get Johnny Munoz out of there in the first round, which I don't believe he can, because Johnny Munoz never been finished, shown a good sign of a chin so far in his career. Jamey Simmons, I think, is not going to be able to finish this in the first round, and I think Johnny Munoz will creep back into it in the second two and win himself a unanimous decision. 29-28, Johnny Munoz, more experience against good competition that doesn't involve getting head kicked in the first round, and he's got more experience going the distance as well, so I think Johnny Munoz will get this one done by decision. Moving on up the card, Victoria Leonardo versus Melissa Gatto. Now, I'm going to go with Melissa Gatto here, undefeated, 6-0 with 2 draws, and those 2 draws, they exist, and they exist to some very weird levels of competition to get a draw to. But either way, she has those draws on her record. Not too shabby. She lost to a 5-4 opponent, Edna Oliveira, but she has the surname Oliveira. And if you're Brazilian with the surname Oliveira, it just makes you naturally good at fighting. City Rocha as well, 9-4 girl, took her to a draw. She does have, however, a win. I think I'm just going to base this fight purely on she has a win over Karol Rosa. And Karol Rosa is pretty good. I believe Karol Rosa right now is on a 4-fight win streak in the UFC. Doing very well for herself. And yes, a 3-fight win streak in the UFC. 5-fight win streak overall since losing to Melissa Gatto. We have not seen Melissa Gatto in the cage once since her win against Karol Rosa. So I think she's going to go out there, do some good work against Victoria Leonardo, and I'm going to call a first round submission for Melissa Gatto here over Leonardo. Leonardo's good. She just doesn't seem at all technical in any way. Maybe she's a little bit scrappy and she's one of those tough girls that can just kind of beat a couple of girls on the regional scene, and she did beat Chelsea Hackett, don't get me wrong. Decent win on the Contender Series, but Chelsea Hackett had no idea what she was doing on the ground. I don't see Victoria Leonardo being able to expose Melissa Gatto on the ground, a girl who's got great submission ability. I can see Melissa Gatto getting a submission, maybe even off of her back here. Maybe Victoria Leonardo rushes forward, goes for a takedown, ends up getting armbarred from on bottom or something like that. I can definitely see that happening, but a win over Karol Rosa is what I'm going to base this on. Victoria Leonardo hasn't really beaten anyone too good whatsoever. Has had some decent record opponents on her resume, but lost to Miranda Maverick twice. Lost to Erin Blanchfield, got head kicked in the second round, got head kicked again against Manon Fiorot, that's 2 TKOs. In the women's division, once you start getting KO'd like that, and often, I don't think it's a great sign. It's the same thing as getting KO'd at flyweight, like they're just too fast. You've got to have a good chin to take those punishment shots. I'm going to go with Melissa Gatto here. Even though she's been inactive, she's very, very young, 25 years of age, so it's going to be a massive development stage for her in her career to take these 3 years off. off. I think we'll see a much better version, and she'll go out there and get a submission in the first round. Moving on up the card, Miles Johns versus Anderson Dos Santos in the bantamweight division. Great scrap. I'm going to go with Miles Johns. I like Miles Johns. Now, you may know of Miles Johns by being the guy who grabbed the glove of Kevin Natividad and got a KO because of it. And they just refuse to acknowledge that for some weird reason, because they keep posting the KO. And although it is a good-looking KO and the guy does flop down really badly, Miles Johns very, very obviously grabbed the guy's glove, and that's why he got the KO. But Miles Johns, outside of that, is a very, very good fighter and has very good grappling, which is where Anderson Dos Santos has sort of been able to get his wins here and there in recent history in the UFC. He lost to Andre Ewell, lost to Nad Narimani, beat Martin Day by using grappling. He got a guillotine choke there. He was out grappling Martin Day. Martin Day escaped it, went for a takedown of his own, got guillotined by Anderson Dos Santos. I'm probably going to go with Miles Johns here. I just think it's the safe bet to make. Don't get me wrong, Anderson Dos Santos has still probably got it. 36 years of age, however, much smaller guy. He's got a little bit of a reach advantage, don't get me wrong, but I believe Miles Johns, a little bit too strong in the grappling. I think he's just going to out-grapple Anderson Dos Santos and outstrike him where he needs to as well. Good striking. I know he got flying kneed by Mario Batista, but then again, people get flying kneed, you know what I mean? Sometimes that stuff happens in the cage. But he beat Kevin Natividad and was winning that fight as well before that finish at the end. So it's not like he got himself the win of a fight he was desperately losing with that uppercut in the third round. He beat Cole Smith, who's 7-0. Beat Richie Santiago, who's 7-1. Beat Adrian Yanez, using his grappling as well over at LFA. He's just fought great competition, and he's got a really good record coming into the UFC. And he's shown that he can win fights at UFC level. So I think I'm going to go with Miles Johns here. Younger guy as well, 27 years of age. Got a long time of being 27 until March of next year anyway. So I'm definitely going to go with Miles Johns here over Anderson Dos Santos. Just being a little bit more athletic, a little bit stronger in the clinch, a little bit stronger in the grappling situations, and being able to stay out of danger on the feet. Miles Johns gets it done by 30-27, unanimous decision win. Moving on up the card to the headliner of the early prelims, Manel Kape versus Ode Osbourne. I'm going to go with Manel Kape here over Ode Osbourne. Ode Osbourne, very dangerous guy. Very, very dangerous guy. Big guy as well for the flyweight division. Looking forward to seeing how he looks down there, because we've seen him at bantamweight. Now he's moving down to flyweight. I don't really like that too much, because that is a big weight cut to make for a guy like Ode Osbourne. I mean, he's going to be like Brandon Royval sized, but not even that skinny. Ode Osbourne, longer reach than Manel Kape. Very good, but as fights go on, Ode Osbourne does seem to slow down. He has one decision win in his career, I believe, and it's by split decision. Very close decision against a guy that arguably you shouldn't be going to a close split decision with. He has a decision loss in his career as well, I believe. I mean, Miles Johns, not Miles Johns. I'm going to go with Manel Kape here over Ode Osbourne. I just trust Manel Kape's level of competition that he's been taking on. Ode Osbourne is explosive, so if you are looking for like an underdog to pick here, maybe Ode Osbourne by like first round KO or first round finish in general wouldn't be a bad bet to make. But Jerome Rivera, that is not really even a UFC caliber win, if we're being honest here. Like, Jerome Rivera is genuinely dog shit. Now cut from the UFC. Got exposed against Brian Kelleher. Got tapped out in the first round. Very good, though. Has got some good wins in his career, but he's been finished a couple of times now. Has a decision loss in his career as well. I just feel like as the fight goes on, it'll get worse and worse for Ode Osbourne, and I can see Manel Kape winning himself a 29-28 decision, like he should have done against Mateus Nicolau, sorry. Like he should have done against Mateus Nicolau. I think he'll get himself a 29-28 decision, coming back in the second and third round. Ode Osbourne's going to have a good first round, but I think he'll fade afterwards, and the experience of Manel Kape will keep him in there. Manel Kape, good chin. I think he's been finished at one point before by Kyoji Horiguchi by TKO, I believe. No, by arm triangle choke, but he got knocked down quite badly in that fight before then as well, and that's what eventually led to the finish. So he has been finished before, but being finished by Kyoji Horiguchi, for fuck's sake, is like, it's Kyoji Horiguchi, you know what I mean? Split decision to Kai Asakura, then got a TKO win over Kai Asakura. I mean, he's fought some great competition over at Rising. I think he's going to go out there and just be a little bit too experienced in those later rounds and win himself a decision over Ode Osbourne. Moving on up the card to the prelims, Karolina Kowalkiewicz versus Jessica Penne. I'm going to go with Karolina Kowalkiewicz here. It's Jessica Penne. She's not good. She didn't even deserve to win her last fight. It was a gifted decision. She shouldn't have won. She lost that fight, but she got a win. Now, Karolina Kowalkiewicz, I would argue maybe isn't really all in there anymore, but Jessica Penne hasn't been in there for a long time before her last fight, and she's 38 years of age. Karolina Kowalkiewicz, 35 years of age, could come back and make a bit of a paycheck for herself, has fought for the belt before, so I'm guessing she's on a good contract for herself. I'm going to go with Karolina Kowalkiewicz here. I can see maybe picking Penne because you don't think Karolina Kowalkiewicz might be back for the right reasons, or something like that, but in terms of just if they're both on okay mode, and they're both in there to win, Karolina Kowalkiewicz is just better. She's beat way better competition levels. She's fought way better competition levels. I know she's lost some close fights, but she's hung in there with those fighters as well. Like the Michelle Waterson fight was reasonably competitive, even though Michelle Waterson ended up winning that one. Even the Ioane and Jacek fight, she had some moments of success. I think if you can have moments of success against Ioane and Jacek in her prime, you can kind of beat Jessica Penne, maybe. Or maybe we're in some fucking dumb dream world that makes no fucking sense. We'll see how it goes. I'm going to go with Karolina Kowalkiewicz, way more experienced, way better technically, and I think she'll just outstrike Jessica Penne to a 30-27 unanimous decision win. Jessica Penne's striking does not look good in general, and Karolina Kowalkiewicz is somewhat technical. So I'm going to go with Karolina Kowalkiewicz, decision win. Moving on up the card, Alonzo Menifield versus Ed Herman. I'm going to be going with Alonzo Menifield here. Ed Herman's good. He's been around for a very long time, 40 years of age now. I mean, it does not get better for you once you start reaching those numbers. I mean, we're talking about Tony Ferguson being a little bit too old for the game, and that's Tony Ferguson. And he's 37 years of age. Ed Herman, 40 years of age, still doing the damn thing. And when I say doing a damn thing, I mean scamming his way to victories against Mike Rodriguez, because he clearly went down with that body shot. But either way, he beat Kadis Ibragimov, but that loss, or that win, doesn't really look too great anymore. The guy's now 8-4, lost to everyone else in the UFC, is now definitely cut from the UFC, I would assume. So that doesn't really look like a great win anymore for Ed Herman. Patrick Cummins, don't get me wrong, good win, but again, Patrick Cummins, older guy, not really a good win to have, now 10-7, also 40 years of age. I think Alonzo Menifield, although 33 and not in his prime either, really, well, he is in his athletic prime, but like, man, these old fuckers, man, what is going on? Why is he so old? 33 years of age? What took you so long? Jesus. I'm going to go with Alonzo Menifield here, though. He has lost to OSP, got hit with that counter shot, beat by Devin Clark as well, got kind of out-hustled in those later rounds. Looked good in his comeback fight against Fabio Charant, who was 7-1 at the time and got a Von Flue choke in the first round. So I'm going to go with Alonzo Menifield being far too explosive, far too athletic for Ed Herman, just being stronger in the clinch, not being out-grappled, and I think it's going to be a stand-up match. And if it's a stand-up match, I can definitely see Alonzo Menifield getting himself a first-round KO. Ed Herman, been around for a long time, took his damage in his career. I'm going to go with Alonzo Menifield getting a first round TKO win against Ed Herman. I just think Ed Herman's not really he's not Alonzo Menifield, you know what I'm saying? I think there's no way he's going to be able to out-grapple him, and if he's stuck on the feet in the first round, God help him. Alonzo Menifield, first round KO. Moving on up the card, Vince Morales versus Drako Rodriguez. I'm going to go Vince Morales. No, I'm not. Ugh. I'm going to go Vince Morales, though. I don't know what I'm going to do here, man. This is such a tough one. This is actually a tough one to pick. Because Drako Rodriguez got KO'd by Amir Zahabi in his last fight. But Vince Morales beat up Amir Zahabi in his fight. And that's his win in the UFC. Drako Rodriguez kind of showed some holes in his game, in my opinion. I know a lot of people are going to be out, just sort of counting out Vince Morales because he looked really bad against Chris Gutierrez. But, man, I think Drako Rodriguez would look fucking terrible against Chris Gutierrez. Drako Rodriguez, long amateur experience, the great Dracolina. He just got KO'd in his last fight. Vince Morales also took a bit of damage as well, and he's turning around quite quickly. I'm going to go with Vince Morales being a little bit better overall as a fighter. He's a lot bigger than Drako Rodriguez in terms of just size, but Drako Rodriguez can have a little bit of a height advantage. Vince Morales has a slight reach advantage. I'm going to go with Vince Morales being able to outgrind and out-hustle Drako Rodriguez. I just didn't like what I saw from Drako Rodriguez against Amian Zahabi. He just walked in there with his chin up in the air with no striking defense, and he paid for it really badly. So I can see Vince Morales going out there and just being able to maybe out-hustle Drako Rodriguez to a unanimous decision win. I'm going to go with Vince Morales over Drako Rodriguez. I'm not just going to look at records. I'm going to look at the way the two of them fight. I think Vince Morales is way more scrappy, a little bit tougher. He can push where he needs to. I think he's got a better chin than Drako Rodriguez, better cardio than Drako Rodriguez. Even in his fight with Benito Lopez, where he lost the first 2 rounds slightly. This is Vince Morales, by the way. He pushed back in the 3rd round and almost got a 10-8 over Benito Lopez. I like Vince Morales here. I think he'll get a decision win. He's fighting for his career as well. 2 fights in a row now he's lost. He needs this one. I'm going to go with Vince Morales getting a decision win, 30-27 over Drako Rodriguez. Just out-hustling and out-grinding him and out-outputting him every single round. Moving on up the card, Bobby Green versus Rafael Fiziev. I'm going to go with Rafael Fiziev here. Self-explanatory, I believe. I'm going to go with Rafael Fiziev. I think he gets this one done by decision. I'll say 29-28 because Bobby Green, he does do well in fights, but I think Fiziev's just going to be too much for him early. I can see Fiziev slowing down in the 3rd round and Bobby Green maybe getting himself that 3rd round, but Fiziev, in my opinion, is just way too good on the feet early. He's got great takedown defense. He's ridiculously strong. Amazing fast twitch muscle fibers. I'm going to go with Rafael Fiziev being a little bit too quick and powerful for Bobby Green in the first 2 rounds, and I think Green's not going to be himself because he's actually got a guy in there with him that can KO him pretty badly, and I think Fiziev's going to get this one done by unanimous decision, winning the first 2 rounds. One thing I can see being a huge factor here for Rafael Fiziev, body kicks against Bobby Green. Bobby Green is a boxing-orientated fighter. I can see Fiziev chewing up his legs, chewing up his body with kicks. Bobby Green keeps his hands way up high, keeps a very high guard, and after seeing that Rafael Fiziev can KO Renato Moicano as early as that stoppage was, I think Bobby Green's going to be out there worried about being KO'd. I think he's going to keep his guard up, try and box with Rafael Fiziev and sting him with a jab at range, maybe try that front kick a couple of times as well, that he does pretty well, and I think that's going to leave him with a very high guard. He has a very long torso, and I can see Fiziev sliding in that switch kick under his elbows and smashing open his guts and then chopping up his legs as well. I see Rafael Fiziev getting this one done by unanimous decision, just being too quick, too versatile on the feet for Bobby Green early, and there won't be enough time for Bobby Green to make a comeback once Fiziev starts to slow down. 2 rounds to 1, Rafael Fiziev gets it done, moving, and he has a reach advantage while being shorter as well with the hands, which is very, very convenient and helpful for him here. Moving on to the main card, Song Yadong versus Casey Kenney. I'm going to go with Casey Kenney here over Song Yadong. I like Casey Kenney, man. He's a real grinder. He can push. He's got great cardio. We've seen Song Yadong slow down in certain fights. Don't get me wrong, he does have that win over Marlon Vera, but I thought Marlon Vera won that fight in the last 2 rounds, in all honesty. But Song Yadong, he's good. But now his loss to Kyler Phillips doesn't really look that good, in all honesty, because the Howley and Paver fight that Kyler Phillips just had. Don't get me wrong, it was a great scrap that he had, but I think Casey Kenney is just a little bit tougher. He mixes it up a little bit more. He goes to the body a little bit more. I like Casey Kenney. He had a great performance against Dominic Cruz. Maybe he should have beaten Dominic Cruz, if you're one of the people that would say that, but it's Dominic Cruz. You know, I know he's a bit older, but he's still Dominic Cruz. He's still the guy that beat TJ Dillashaw after some time off and came back and just beat him by decision at his own game. Dominic Cruz is a savage. Casey Kenney made it extremely close against him. I don't see Song Yadong getting a KO here or a finish early in any way, so I do see this being a decision and a scrap. I would favour Casey Kenney's output over Song Yadong. I think he's got a little bit better cardio, and I think he can push a bit of a better pace than Song Yadong, and I think their chins are maybe equal, but I'd give the edge to Casey Kenney. So in a 3-round scrap, where both guys are going to be going for it, I'll go with Casey Kenney. Great experience. He's got great takedowns that he can go for. I know Song Yadong's got decent takedown defense, but Casey Kenney's got that black belt in judo that he can fall back on if he's not liking the stand-up too much. I think he does have the grappling advantage here. I think he's got too many options, and I think he's just a little bit better than Song Yadong in a couple of areas. I'm going to go with Casey Kenney by unanimous decision over Song Yadong. Moving on up the card, Tecia Torres versus Angela Hill. Angela Hill coming off a good win, I believe, against Ashley Yoder, which I guess you can call a good win, but she's 8-8 now. But then again, Angela Hill's 13-9, so like this is women's MMA for you. Good win over Ashley Yoder, dominated her for 3 rounds. Don't know what that really tells me. She still had that close fight with Michelle Waterson and a close fight with Claudia Gadelha. She should have won both of them, in my opinion, especially the Claudia Gadelha one. The Michelle Waterson one is actually pretty close, but I'm going to go with Tecia Torres here. I actually really like Tecia Torres. I've picked her in a lot of her fights recently. She was the underdog, I believe, against Brianna Van Buren. I think I remember that correctly, and I picked her in that fight, which I thought was just ridiculous that she was the underdog there. I think she's really, really improved her stand-up. Her kicks have gotten way better. Her boxing has gotten way better. She put a massive, massive great performance on Sam Hughes and just destroyed her in the first round, and she quit on the stall at the end of the first. She really badly put a whooping on Sam Hughes in that first round. I can see Tecia Torres going out there, outstriking Angela Hill to unanimous decision win. 29-28, Tecia Torres. Very good fighter. Very awkward to beat as well because of how small she is for the division, but she's so fast. I think she's going to get the job done over Angela Hill here. Just being a little bit too quick, having a little bit too much output, and making it a little bit messy where she needs to, and her kicks have massively improved. I'll go with Tecia Torres over Angela Hill, plus Angela Hill, 36 years of age. Tecia Torres, 31 years of age. I'm going to go with Tecia Torres here. She's in her prime. I reckon she gets it done. And she's got better level of competition as well because she's been around for so long. Tecia Torres, 3-round decision. Moving on up the card. Michael Chiesa versus Vicente Luque. This is a great card. Man, this is a great welterweight matchup. Winner of this one is definitely looking for title elimination bouts in the welterweight division. I'm going to go Vicente Luque here over Michael Chiesa. Don't get me wrong, Michael Chiesa does have the ability to maybe go out there and out-grapple Vicente Luque for 3 rounds. There is a potential world in which he does that. However, his stand-up is so bad, I'm worried about him on the feet with Luque, because Luque's not one of these stand-up guys like Wonderboy Thompson where, oh no, if you're not good at stand-up, he might hit you 5 times a minute. You know what I mean? Like, that's a different level of fear. Luque has the level of stand-up where, although he might be worse than Wonderboy, he's still in a situation where if you can't strike, you don't just get outpointed. You can get decapitated in the first round. And I think he's going to get a first-round TKO here over Michael Chiesa. Vicente Luque, I have no worry about him in any way on the feet. If Michael Chiesa gets a KO here, I don't know what to think anymore. I don't think Michael Chiesa is ever going to get a finish on the feet. And I think Luque is just going to be waiting for him to come in. And I think he's just going to catch him, wading forward, looking for the clinch, looking for some grappling situations, and I think he's going to catch him with like an uppercut to a hook combo and put down Michael Chiesa in the first round. Michael Chiesa, very good, but also a little bit inactive, hasn't fought since the start of the year. Vicente Luque fought in March. He's very, very active. He fights a couple of times every year. Michael Chiesa, I believe, has fought twice since July of 2019, which is pretty inactive, but either way, he beat Rafael dos Anjos, way smaller than Vicente Luque. He beat Neil Magny, but then again, Neil Magny wanted to lose, which I didn't realise before that fight, otherwise I would have picked against him. But Neil Magny was just pulling Michael Chiesa on top of him and accepting defeat. I think Vicente Luque, big enough, strong enough to keep Michael Chiesa off of him. And I can see him doing that for 3 rounds if he needs to. However, maybe Michael Chiesa could go out there and out-grapple him. But Michael Chiesa doesn't really have many submission attempts, doesn't really do too much damage on the ground, just sort of relies on top control and position. Even if Vicente Luque's on bottom, just a couple of shots to the body of total strikes will end up you winning that matchup, because Michael Chiesa literally does nothing in terms of damage on top position. So if you just do a little bit of damage on bottom with a couple of elbows here and there, it's still likely you might get a decision win, even if Chiesa has all the control time. I just don't trust Chiesa to go out there and get a win by grappling Vicente Luque for 3 rounds. Every single round it starts on the feet as well. I'm going to go Vicente Luque here, getting a big KO win in the first round against Michael Chiesa. Brutally. I just think he's way quicker, way better chin, way faster. He's also a massive guy as well at welterweight, and so far Michael Chiesa has fought Other than Neil Magny, which was a struggle as well, let's not forget. Rafael dos Anjos is a lightweight. Diego Sanchez is a lightweight. Carlos Condit's an older guy, really, but he is a welterweight, I guess. But, you know, not really a big welterweight. He's a tall guy, but not really a built, stocky welterweight with any big muscle mass behind him. Anthony Pettis, like, he doesn't really have a lot of big welterweight experience other than the Neil Magny fight, and I think Vicente Luque is going to be big and strong enough to keep him off of him. And he's just shown great takedown defense in his career as well, Vicente Luque, and improving takedown defense, because he would get taken down earlier in his career by guys like Leon Edwards, and he goes in there against other opponents that are trying to take him down. Like Woodley desperately tried to get him down in that first round at certain moments, and he had none of it. So I'm going to go with Vicente Luque first round KO. Moving on up the card, Jose Aldo versus Pedro Munhoz. I'm going with Jose Aldo. I know I said I was going to go with Pedro Munoz. I completely understand I've betrayed many. 3 rounds. And also, I've been watching some Aldo fights. He's fucking massive at bantamweight. And Munoz is not a big guy at bantamweight, man. And I was kind of leaning towards Munoz with the calf kicks, but Aldo's... He's still Aldo. He's still really good. I was watching the Yan fight. I was watching his matchup against Marlon Vera and the way he was landing those body shots. Pedro Munoz has been hurt to the body previously in his career. I know he got hurt to the body a couple of times against Aljamain Sterling with those front kicks to the stomach that he was getting hit with. I'm gonna go with Jose Aldo here. I think he's just too big, and 3 rounds just isn't enough time for Pedro Munoz to wear on Jose Aldo. I could see Pedro Munoz winning the 3rd round and maybe starting to beat up Jose Aldo a little bit in that 3rd round. But in the first 2 rounds of this bout, I think Jose Aldo, too big, too fast, too good on the feet, and also a 5-inch reach advantage and a height advantage, and they're both 34. I know that Pedro Munoz calls himself the young Punisher, but like... You're the same age as Aldo. Like, Aldo's not a young guy, really. I know he's been around in the game for a long time, but again, Pedro Munoz, 19-5, 1 no contest. I'm going to go with Jose Aldo here. Reach advantage, stand-up advantage early. I don't think Munoz has enough time. If this was a 5-rounder, and maybe it is, I need to actually check that right now, because I know how these events have been doing things recently. Pedro... Let me really look this up, just to make sure before I make my prediction. 5 rounds. Promoted to co-main events. While the UFC has been open to booking 5-round co-main events, the Aldo versus Munoz fight will stay left at 3 rounds, because neither fighter was preparing originally for a 5-round fight, so it makes sense it stayed as a 3-rounder rather than rescheduling an already signed bout. Okay, so it is a 3-rounder. There's no changes there. I'm going to go with Jose Aldo. I don't think Munoz has enough time to punish him. I'm going to do a more in-depth breakdown of this one as well as some others on the main card. Moving on to the main event. But I've got Aldo by 3-round decision, 29-28. Main event. Derrick Lewis versus Ciryl Gane. I'm going to go with Ciryl Gane because he's... You know what? Here's my opinion on this matchup. Ciryl Gane is way better than Derrick Lewis. He's got better boxing, he's got better kickboxing, he's got better jiu-jitsu, he's got better grappling, he's got better footwork, he might have a better chin. I doubt it though. Derrick Lewis has got a pretty good chin. That's the only thing I might give Derrick Lewis in terms of an advantage. Derrick Lewis has good power, but Ciryl Gane's way faster, way more technical, way better head movement. Way better footwork again. I'll just chuck that on one more time because his footwork deserves 2 different mentions of the same thing. That's how good his footwork is. So with that being said, Lewis by random fluke KO. No, I'm joking. I'm going to go with Ciryl Gane. I don't know how many times Derrick Lewis can go against reality. He's like really breaking down the time-space continuum with the fact that he exists at the top of the heavyweight division. Don't get me wrong, he's good. He is actually pretty good. I'm not just saying he's a terrible guy with just one punch KO power. He's good behind that, but he's just not as good as Ciryl Gane at striking. And Ciryl Gane's footwork, I think, is going to be the main difference, because with Derrick Lewis, with the people that he has KO'd, they've all had an ability to want to take him to the ground, which is going to leave them in a little bit of a precarious position. Happened to Curtis Blaydes. Curtis Blaydes doesn't really have the same level of footwork as Ciryl Gane either, or the level of stand-up, or the level of distance management on the feet, which I think is going to be a very big tool here for Ciryl Gane. Alexei Oleinik was giving Lewis a bit of a hard time, but Lewis bounced back there and got a win with back of the head shots. Ilir Latifi was giving Lewis a hard time, but you can't really compare these guys. Alexander Volkov, way more flat-footed than Ciryl Gane, and this is the old Volkov as well. So Ciryl Gane is even better than the current version of Volkov, let alone the old version of Volkov that Derrick Lewis took on. Derrick Lewis is very good. He has the ability to land that one big punch on Ciryl Gane. I'm going to be going with Ciryl Gane by 4th round, front kick to the stomach, TKO body shot finish. Ciryl Gane gets it done. I think he's too floaty around. He's got too good distance management. He barely gets hit clean, and when he does, he rolls with it. Something he never does is goes into shots. You'll never see him do that. Although some people say, Ciryl Gane's there to be hit. He's there to be hit. Yeah, he's there to be hit as he's rolling away from it and as he's moving away with his feet, away from the onslaughting opponent. He's never really in a position where he'll throw something and then he'll just walk into a shot that he never saw there beforehand. Whereas Curtis Blaydes has done that before in his fights. I just think Ciryl Gane is a very safe pick. Don't see Derrick Lewis being able to get this anywhere other than on the feet. And I think while it's on the feet, Ciryl Gane is just going to pick at him, break him down, keep distance control. I think the front kick is a huge deal here because he's going to be able to keep Derrick Lewis at range. Plus, Ciryl Gane's jab is amazing as well, and I think that's going to help him here. And those are two things that Curtis Blaydes didn't really have against Derrick Lewis. Curtis Blaydes went out there, he was chopping at the legs of Derrick Lewis. He was trying to land right hooks on Derrick Lewis and left hooks on Derrick Lewis. Ciryl Gane has more range measuring strikes, and I think keeping range is the best way to beat Derrick Lewis, a guy who just needs to swing and catch you at the end of one of his punches. I'm going to go Ciryl Gane here by 4th round, teep to the stomach, body shot TKO. Ciryl Gane gets this one done, but thank God this fight was made. Can I just mention that in this video before I go? I'm going with Ciryl Gane. Thank God this fight was made. Everyone who was complaining about Ngannou being stripped, we wouldn't have an event other than this. This would be a fight night with Aldo Munoz as the main event, or maybe Luque Chiesa as the main event, which would be a great fight night. But thank God for Lewis versus Gane. We wouldn't have a card without them. Respect. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Click that button up there. Toodle pip. I'll see you later. Ciryl Gane 4th round TKO. Goodbye.